a little bit of rural work and all of that. So yeah, I'm not going to focus too much on me. I'm going to talk about Rashmi and Studio Copper a little bit more. So Rashmi and I kind of got introduced through a common friend, and I think I reached out saying that, hey, we have this thing that we are planning. And I think Rashmi also kind of reached out to me saying that, hey, I heard that you're doing something in the exchange that thing. And then I thought that, hey, you're doing something really amazing, because if you ever visit her website, Studio Copper, I think there's that relationship between lifestyle, modern lifestyle, and traditional craft. How do you map both of these together to do product design? So, and actually run a business like that. So I think that's super. So Rashmi actually leads the design of that particular organization. She, in the past, has for two decades has led many more companies or her own studio, and she's led many more projects in the branding space and in the graphic design space. But since the past 6 years, she's been part of Studio Copper and heading the positioning, the product design, getting artisans to work together to do this. So I think I will not uh, uh, keep us away from the content that Rashmi has to share. But I think what we can do, I have this amazing video from Studio Copper, which I'm going to share right now before I hand it over to Rashmi. So let me see, how do I do that? Uh, oh, so Rashmi, are you able to share screen? I think you.
Yeah. Would you like to pull up the film at the end of the talk?
Sure. Let's do that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So then I hand it over to Rashmi.
Yeah.
Great.
Just give me a couple of seconds. I'm pulling up the presentation. I'm trying to get it to full screen for better viewing. So, okay. Yeah. Okay. So I hope
Yes,
the slide is visible, Richard. Okay. So thank you for having me, IIT Alumni Network, nevertheless. So I'm going to launch directly into the kind of presentation I have here for you. So we set up Studio Copper about 6 years back because at that point of time, we wanted to do something meaningful. Meaningful for artisans, for better economic returns, and for a recognition actually of their talents and skills, which is a very important point. Meaningful for customers who are looking for, handcrafted products that had a sense of nostalgia, but which were, modern and contemporary in their appeal. And of course, quality products, which, we find that many craft products, lack quality. So, and of course, meaningful for us because we wanted to make a difference through our work. 6 years down the line, I'm happy to say that we've been successful in reviving the copper craft of Maharashtra. And since then, and now, so that was phase one. This is phase one, rather, our copper craft intervention. And now we are also, sort of working with other craft forms, the metalworking artisans from Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan, basketry workers from, again, Uttar Pradesh. So, but today's presentation obviously is about, our work in phase one, which has been about reviving the copper craft of Maharashtra. So Copper or Studio Copper, our organization is a for-profit organization, and we work at the intersection of, craft, design, heritage, business, um, finance. So like, yeah, we have an awful lot on our plate, and I'll just sort of take you through. It's this today's work is like a kind of a case study for what we've done over the past, 6 years. So you can take a look. So this is Shantaram. He's one of my favorite artisans. Here you can see he's, beating a large copper, as we call a floater, into shape, completely hand shaping. And yeah, so, and Shantaram is, he's seen the film Casablanca, he says 8 times because, he wanted to be like the hero of the film, but I think he was, more smitten by the heroine. Um, and this is Mohan. I can lay a wager that he's the world's foremost authority on the metal copper. He can tell the quality of the of copper just by touching it and running his hands over the surface of the sheet. And this is Ajit. Before our intervention with this craft. He needed a sundowner every evening because his wife used to complain that you don't earn enough. But now with our intervention, things have improved on on that front for him. And this is Dada. He's a social worker with our craft cluster, and I'm talking about the craft cluster we began with, which is Pune, an urban craft cluster. He's a social worker and he runs a library in the midst of you know of this heritage precinct, as we call it in Pune, which boasts of course, vernacular titles like Harry Potter, Carl Sagan, and it's amazing to see the library that he's set up. Obviously, very forward-looking and a kind of a spokesman for the craft community. And this is Aarti, of course, not a craftsperson, but she's a craft promoter and, loves copper. And she's our go-to person for, used to be our go-to person for every new design we did. And her feedbacks were always very valuable. And this is Rati. She was the person who gave us our first grant to start off this project. I remember when we went to her first with our cash flow, she just looked at it and she picked holes in it and she said, Rashmi and Sudakshan, I don't think this cash flow is working. And we looked at her and said, being designers, we said, but Rati, I think it's looking okay visually. And she just laughed and, doubled the grant amount she gave to us. So Rati is from Pune and so is Aarti. And they wanted to, by helping us out with a grant and, other kind of resource support, they wanted to make sure that they're giving back to the city of Pune in some way. And this is Supriya, one of the early part of the project when we were working. She's co-convener in TAC Pune now, and Supriya was was so good at keeping stock. Initially, we used to go from city to city, showing the copper wares that we were working with and designing, and in the hope of spreading the message across both nationally and internationally. And Supriya was hawk-eyed about stock. She never lost even one piece, at the end of the day or at the end of any exhibition. And this is Adhar. He's our first rather angel investor. He's no more. And his best friend was John Bissell from Fab India, the founder of Fab India. And we always used to joke with Adhar. We said to him that, yeah, we know you're investing in our company because at that point of time you failed to pick up shares in Fab India, which would have made you very rich 20, 30 years down the line. But anyway, yeah. And these Asya and Umar are now our Series A investor, seed funding actually. Other was our angel investor, and Uma and Asya are seed funders. And they're very patient. I mean, it's not like any other project where you seed fund and you expect returns or profits in a couple of years. They're with us for the long run, as we all are in this team. And this is the core team. We run copper. Chanda, who, she's hard-nosed and a complete finance person, and with her head always buried in Excel sheets, and forever trying to keep the artisans and our organizations afloat. So Dakshina, who leads the marketing, is a fun person and always keeping the morale of the team up, and the morale always goes down in a craft project. It's not easy to run a craft project. Simantini is a purist and an idealist. She heads branding and digital marketing. And she's my enormous sort of critic for the designs I do. I mean, she just doesn't like what I design. And of course, me, I take the flak for everything that's wrong with the project, starting from designing to pricing to quality, etc. So that's the burden that designers have to bear. You put out the product, and you have to be responsible for the entire life cycle of the product, right from concept to the end. So what I'm trying to say here is that they say that it takes a village to raise a human child. So also to get a craft project off the ground. Okay, so I'm going to so that's a little bit about the people who have been some of the people rather, and some of the artisans who have been involved with this project. And I just take a quick a few seconds to talk about a little bit about this. It's so running a craft project is no different from running any other business, except for one fact, that if you have your finance, design, operations, and markets in place, you have to make sure that the benefits of these for, let's say, departments, if you'd like to call it, or aspects of a craft project, benefits should go back to the artisans. Otherwise, if you're not in sync and the artisans are not getting continuous orders, then you're not really making an impact with your work. I'll now move on to the crux of the main focus of this talk, which is what is it to design with a craft cluster. So all of us working with the four of us, our team, working with crafts, find it extremely enriching, because we find that Indian crafts are huge repositories of indigenous knowledge. These are embedded within craft systems, so which you won't find anywhere else. You can't Google these. There is just not enough data available, and the data is not coming from the West. We tend to sort of admire and look at data which comes from the West, but this is our indigenous data. So you have two types of systems embedded in our craft ecosystems, which is one are tangible sort of systems, which are craft processes, material know-how, tools, life cycles of crafts. And equally important are the intangible systems that are embedded, which are stories that craft systems hold, some things that are passed down orally, from the families, within craft families, rituals, festivals. All these, we use all these both tangible and intangible knowledge systems as springboards for creativity in our project. We also find that using these as springboards for creativity helps us establish, helps us compete with our products in global markets. And you'll see how we do this in the next few slides. So I'm just going to take you through how we use Indian craft traditions to create products. Okay, so our first category of products that we have in our portfolio are based on Indian tradition of drinking water out of a copper utensil. So for the longest time, in Indian tradition has dictated that drinking water from a copper utensil is good for health. And studies have shown, and there are white papers from universities overseas, that copper does have antimicrobial properties. So we've used this custom or tradition to develop a range of products. Now, this is one of our most successful product that we've launched to date. It's a bedside water, it's a bedside carafe, which from this copper container first thing in the morning. Now, the discerning feature of this craft that we work with, the copper craft, is the hand-beaten work. And you'll see it in a video that we'll pull up for you towards the end. So copper is a soft material. So, traditionally what people used to do is by hand beating, you hide the scratches, you give copper enough strength. Now, this particular design is so popular that, it's been copied by around, let's say, 300 mass manufacturers all over India and sold at half the price. So we always sort of wondering that we do the designing and then people mass manufacturers come in and sell the product at a lower price. So, and buoyed by the success of this product, we launched a jug and something for the office which you could keep on your desk and drink water out of, and also some tumblers, uh, something that can nest within one another, and again, different designs. So I'll quickly run through the designs that we have for this. And we realized that as we progress through our markets, that the beaten work, which is the discerning feature of this craft, actually is too loud for Western markets. So we started exporting our the designs that we created and worked with the artisans. We trained our artisans then to do to do a kind of a minimal kind of work on without the beaten work. How do you get a plain surface? How do you get it to be quality? So this design is very popular in the export market, and yeah, so you can see that how we evolve with traditional techniques and designs, and then take it to levels that are suitable for different markets. The next kind of Indian tradition that we've built our portfolio on is, metals and lighting traditions. So all of us at home, we use silver, brass, diyas. So using this, what we did is, we came out with a set of oil lamps, which would have the same kind of purity and effect of a diya, but in a more contemporary form. These oil lamps do very well again in the Indian market. And something a little more blingy, which we converted this metal and lighting traditions to something a little more blingy for this. So these kind of designs into tea lights actually. So these kind of designs do very well for us during Diwali. In fact, we get flooded with orders. These make excellent gifts. Another design. So people in India love shine. They love, floral. And so this is how we and smaller tea lights, which, which are pocket friendly, not that pocket friendly because copper is an expensive material. So so we have a variation of designs in tea lights because these are really handy for gifting. And the gift is valuable since it's handmade, and copper is an auspicious material. So people love to give these gifts as return gifts for weddings, especially since silver prices have gone through the roof. So the next best material option for customers is copper. And a little modern tea lights. These go very well in the export market. Again, a modern thing. And then we experiment with, the hand beating work. And for most of us working in the project, we can tell which artisan has done the hand beaten work, on which product. So it's actually it's a signature of each artisan, what you see, the finish and the work on each product. This again is a very popular design. We do very well with this again during festive seasons and over Christmas and things like this. And again, this was developed. Hurricane lamps are not there in our culture, but we took the tradition of using metals and lighting into, a Western kind of a design. So this does well for us in the export market. And again, how we evolve from the Indian market, what does the export market need? So, candle holders. So some of these products are really difficult for our artisans to make. So then you have to pitch in, help them with, how to do it, how to execute these. And eventually, you need to have a quality product because today nobody's looking at tacky craft products anymore. People want quality, whether you're, even if you're spending 5 rupees, people want quality. So that's what the aim of a project really is, to work with artisans, help them with designs and market quality wares, artisanal quality handcrafted wares. Inspired by Indian traditions. We've always had, we've always offered puja things in metals. You can have silver, you can have brass. So taking from this tradition, we developed large floaters. I showed you this floater, the artisan working. This is completely hand-shaped. It's not done by on a die or spinning, completely hand-shaped and then hand-beaten. And this does well. It's a large piece, I think about 24 inches in diameter. And again, completely hand shaped, and you can see it's got a different kind of beaten work on it. Again, taken from the inspiration of, you can float flowers as an offering, or for lighting and things like that. And a smaller piece which you could keep on your table. This is about 9 inches or so, 9 inches in diameter. And this, if I'd like to point out that this particular piece, it's got 2,000 strokes of the hammer. So you can imagine, and you look at the beaten work, it's almost like machine-like precision, And machines, we know that, other states in India use machines to produce this hand-beaten work, but you can't match the quality of what our artisans do with hand beating. Again, another kind of design. And another Indian tradition that we've used as an inspiration for our products, eating food from metalwares. So this is kasa or bronze. It's an alloy of copper and tin. So especially in the Northeast, it's considered very healthy to eat out of kasa. So, we've tried to give it a modern avatar. This kasa does very well as well in our portfolio. So using the same thing, we promote this design to chefs and say, okay, you can also serve Western sort of dishes, fusion dishes. You can have panna cotta, or like this one has kheer in it. And so you can see how from copper we move to bronze, again picking up, showing people how our tradition can be evolved into more modern forms. And this is a picture from one of the retailers that we work with in the US. And they have used, in a very modern way, bronze and copper. So we developed for them copper vases along with bronze trays. Bronze is called kasa in India. And then we found that, with people would order kasa thali sets or bronze sets, and there were no bowls to serve it from. So we decided to do a fusion kind of a collection with, with bronze and ceramics. And yeah, this did well. This did quite well as well. And we moved to silver because Indians love to pull out their silver over festivals. So we do, since silver is very expensive, so to offer people products that are silver but at a lower price point, we use copper as the base material and and silver plate it. And then we found that, it's high time our artisans sort of had some kind of an international exposure. So we began by working with an Italian designer who worked with, I'm sorry, can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yeah, I would request everybody to please go on mute.
Okay, sorry for that. So we started working with an Italian designer, and our artisans love to work with firangs, so that was a great thing. So what Riccardo from Italy did was he designed 3 products, that is 3 shapes, that this one, and this one. And his concept was do more with less. So using these 3 basic shapes, he came out with different ensembles, so, and different finishes. So this has got a different finish on the outside, which, highlights the copper inside. So the same shape, how do we use to market in different sort of combinations? So this was 2s, then you can use it as 3s, and then you can mount it on in different ways and use it in combination. And also, using it as clocks. So this was with Ricardo, and this was quite successful as well. And the most recent project we had with Ricardo was he combined two materials, glass and copper, and you can see fruit bowls and flower vases. And these are fairly large pieces. So for basically for people with large houses or even institutions who would like to, display stuff like this in their lobbies and things. Okay, so no talk on crafts can, the most important thing for any craft organization is to make sure that, we improve the lives and livelihoods of the artisan sector. So it's very important that the economic returns for artisans, it makes sense to them. Otherwise, there is no point in, because then the artisan is not going to work with you, for over the long term, or even let's say the medium term. So how do we do this at Copper? There are, there are many ways in which we incentivize our artisans. It's not only through, of course, monetary incentivization is there. So one thing is very important when one works with a craft sector is that you have to give your artisans consistent orders. Otherwise, you're just like a fly-by-night, operator, and then you run away, and then you're not going to get the same dedication and quality, and you're not going to get a buy-in from your artisan cluster if you cannot give them consistent orders. So what we do is we place monthly orders with our artisans, but we make payments weekly, which means that artisans who are used to work, they get the incentivization is that, as if I finish more work in a week, I get my money immediately. I don't have to wait for a month. So these are some of the things that Chanda, who looks after finance and operations, has sort of, strategized and worked out for our organization. In addition, we started paying our artisans by piece. Now, traditionally in India, um, uh, buying brass, copper, or metals is always done on a kilo. So you go to the shop and say, "Acha, kitna wajan hai iska aur price kitna hai," and you multiply it and pay. Now we realize that some of our products, though small, are difficult to make. So we work with our artisans and remunerate them on a piece basis. And the thing is that we end up paying 3 to 5 times more than the market rates or the commercial rates for our products to our artisans, and which is great for them. But we found now down the line that we have so many competitors and people who pay less, and then our products like take a beating. So yeah, while our artisans are laughing their way to the bank, we kind of struggle a little. So, and also Chanda, make sure that, we give soft loans to our artisans for workshop upgrades or for a wedding or some, emergency and things like that. And this has led to, some intangible benefits like, so we were the first to work with this cluster. In fact, it wasn't even considered a craft. So we registered it with as a craft with DC Handicrafts. And given our intervention, there are so many other retailers and designers who now work with this. And more than just reviving the copper craft of Maharashtra, I think what we have done is over the last 6 years, we have said that yes, copper or metal crafts are also important, along with, let's say weaving or, other textile crafts that India is, better known for. So, and our artisans are recognized globally. I mean, there are so many people who come from overseas and say, okay, I want to work with Ganesh, or I want to work with, let's say Kadu, or, they know our artisans through the publicity that we, because that's very important for artisans to be recognized for their talents. And through our training, so of course, to have this kind of a product portfolio, which you can see on our website, which is studiocopper.com, obviously there's a lot of training and back end work that goes on, and this sort of reduces the entry barriers for other people to come and work with our artisans. And we're very happy to do that, to have this, because eventually the aim of any craft project is that the artisans should get more and more work, and not only from one organization like ours. And there are many subjective benefits, of course. The artisan goes up like the Maslow's hierarchy of the hierarchical pyramid, and actually there is a self realization for the artisan that he or she is not only at the bottom rung, but there is a self actualization, which is what a craft project should also be about. Apart from the copper and metal working artisans we have impacted, we've worked with artisans in these other states like Kashmir. We worked with copper artisans from Kashmir as well, and Gujarat, and I mentioned this. So totally we impact about 250 artisans to date, which is a very small number. And with our hopefully we want to go in for a Series A funding, and then increase our footprint with given our experience of the last 5 to 6 years of working with the craft sector. The single most, I'll move to a little bit to marketing now. The single most challenging aspect of a craft project is organized marketing. So to take a product, which is made like this, and often with artisans sitting on the floor outside their homes, and from workshops like this. This is Manoj and Suraj. They're handcrafting our Spartan platters. And from workshops like this is Sachin, who is working on a spinning machine. To retail organization, to retail outlets like, let's say, a Clove in Mumbai. Of course, this is pre-COVID. Now this is shut or slowed down. And to we used to retail from the JIT3 in the Mumbai airport, and to Ancestry store in Delhi. So to be a bridge between artisans, and this is Ricardo. We launched, you can see some of our products in the background. So to take our products from, let's say, I showed you how our artisans work and the conditions they work with, to retail outlets like this is I would say is quite a challenge. And and sometimes we wonder what we're doing. And the strange thing is that we as Indians don't value our handcrafting traditions as much as people from the West do. People, the people come to India looking for culture and heritage. And whenever we worked with retailers overseas, they're saying, "Wow, this is beautiful," and they have overseas now a kind of an inclination or a love for handcrafting, a love for culture, because they don't have it at all in the West. Whereas as Indians, we tend to sort of look at things which are, handmade, which are mass produced, because I understand that, we don't have the economics, and we are still looking at products that are we are very price conscious society. Okay, so how do we handle marketing at Copper? As I said, it's the single most challenging thing in a craft-based project. So we actually we look at both B2C and B2B. Of course we have our own e-commerce website which people can purchase from. We launched our project on the back of Facebook. Facebook was just coming into India, and we started and this is online space has really helped us reach global markets in the shortest possible time. But the ironic thing is that with online markets, we find that we have to compete for customers' wallets, with other things like, let's say, a holiday, or dining out, or clothes. Everything now is available to the customer at a click of a button. So in early days, I remember we used to have to go to, let's say, crafts emporia to buy a craft product. So when you went to a craft emporia, you were pretty sure that you want to buy the craft product. But now, crafts organizations like ours, we have to compete with everything else that's available online. So a customer, to sort of say to a customer that buy a product, but instead of dining out, I mean, that is also one of the challenges we face. And the other thing is that, sort of satisfying the demands of a picky customer, and also at the same time dealing with the whimsical nature of an artisan. I mean, our artisans, want to run away for a fifth cousin's wedding just when there are urgent orders to be met. That's also one of the challenges that we have working with the crafts project. So B2B, we work with, we retail at lifestyle decor shops, and we're also on many marketplace website. Amazon, in fact, has a handcrafted section which is called Amazon Karigar. We are there. And we find that, the biggies are coming into this craft sector. So you have, of course, you have the Tatas, the Aditya Birla. There are other smaller players like Gatha, etc. So this sector is finally kind of, seeing a kind of attraction, which we didn't see when we started, 6 years back. And of course, we also supply to institutional buyers, corporates place orders for gifting, because there is a great awareness now that, you have to buy Indian and support Indian handcrafting techniques. So we're actually all over the place, which is also a bit of a challenge for us to handle. And so when our morale is down, we love to look at this slide where we say, okay, in the last 5-6 years, we've had 50,000 happy customers. We've been on 25 market portals, exported to 12 countries, retailed at 90 crafts shops and boutiques, and we have 55 institutional buyers on our on our data. And for the first time, in fact, this craft we took to international exhibitions. Some of them are, Milan Design Week and Ambiente, Frankfurt. We take part in trade shows, and by now, last year we did, and this year we were slated to be there, because unless you meet customers overseas, you're not going to get business. So this is the first time again that our craft. In fact, through our good offices, one of our artisans, Mr. Kadu, also has gone overseas, presented the work and given a demo of the craft at Yale University. So, and we're hoping in the next few years we can have more craft sectors, in fact, follow, are compliant with almost 50 to 60% of these sustainability goals. A fact that many, corporates even today are struggling to sort of, be compliant with. So some of these are, lowering of poverty, gender equality, um, uh, smaller responsible consumption and production. So most of the craft sectors in India, you find that they will work with locally, footprint is low, and they're working from home, so they're not migrating into cities and increasing the pollution and load on cities. So this is one of such an important fact that more and more designers should work with this, because in fact all most of the craft clusters are compliant with so many sustainability goals, and which the UN says that we ought to reach by the year 2030. And I'll just take you through some numbers. So if you look at the macro numbers today, and the blue one is the IT sector. So today we have about, let's say the census says that around 200 million artisans. So we have 200 million artisans in India today. And compare that to 5 million working in the IT sector. Now, these 200 million artisans are already trained, they're already skilled, they already know their work. Whereas you look at the IT sector and you have to go through, and you have to put up engineering colleges, you have to, go through the grind, produce. You're actually producing factories of people. And so you can see that the potential of this sector. And one of my colleagues once at a webinar said that if you consider that the minimum wage for anybody in India today is 8,000 rupees a month, you multiply that into 3 and say, okay, sorry, you multiply that by 12 and you come to a figure of, let's say, 1,500 US dollars, because rupees is a little difficult to large numbers. So 1,500 US dollars is the wage, that a minimum wage per annum that anybody in India should sort of earn. You multiply that by 3 or 4, saying that that is the revenue that each artisan can generate, and you come to a figure. If let's say even at the lowest wage level, if 200 million artisans were put into the workforce, you're looking at a sector which has a revenue of 1 trillion USD. Okay, and the current revenue generated by this sector is only 8 million USD. So obviously there's a huge potential in working with this sector. The only problem with this sector is that it is scattered, and bringing or aggregating this sector to, for smoothness of operations is a challenge, which, I always say that, this sector needs disruption. So any of you, IIT management people who would love to disrupt this sector, I would love to talk to you. Okay, so I'd like to end this talk by saying that I personally believe that the future of creativity in India lies in its past. And yeah, so this is, I think I come to the end of what I had to say about our work with copper artisans. And if Ruchin, if you could pull up the sort of video.
Sure.
It just show you what goes into making a craft product, a copper craft product.
Just give me a minute, because
Yes.
yeah, I'll have to yeah, okay, I'll have to bring it up. So yeah. Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Okay. Oops, sorry for this. Thanks, Rashmi. That was
Thank
very
you.
nice. All right. So we're open for questions. Feel free to type in the questions in the chat. In the meantime, I'm just going to say a few words. So first of all, I think what impressed me is that the previous talk we had was much more about brand experience with product experience. That was the previous talk, and then this time we heard so much more about a sector that we don't know too much about, and I think that uh, that was enlightening to know that you've taken such a pro artisan approach, and actually opened up a market that I don't think people saw the potential anytime earlier. And with your education, with the training that you're giving the artisans, and the exposure that you're giving them to travel abroad and maybe teach and share their knowledge, I think that is something that's not heard of before. Uh, the other thing is also that how you're talking about bringing them into the economic mainstream and bringing really making them a part of your process, not only for the creation or the product they contribute to the whole ecosystem. I think that is another very systemic sort of approach that I think is something to learn from. And along with that, I think I have one question, but there are a couple of others here as well. So I will start with mine, and then we will go to the others. So I noticed that your team that runs Studio Copper is a women-driven team, and the artisans seemed to be predominantly male. So that's quite an interesting difference of maybe the. I want to know, how do you communicate, and how does that? Was it a challenge? Was it not a challenge? Was it easy? Can you tell us a little bit about?
Yeah, actually, that's a good question. So we always say, yeah, we're a women-led team, but working with only men. And I think it works really well, because I think personally, I think that women and men work better together because probably there's less testosterone or whatever. I mean. So yeah, but I don't think I feel that in general, when you start working with the craft sector, the single most important thing is to build trust, because for decades or centuries, Indian artisans have been, given the short shrift. So people have, uh, worked, sort of marketed their wares, but, paid them peanuts. So this it's a question of trust. It's not so much a question of gender. You build a trust by by sort of asking them over for khana, or it's like a relationship. So there is no structure to this relationship. Actually, we have huge fights with our artisans. There are huge arguments. There will be people who will sulk for days and not, sit on the products and say that abhi main nahi dunga, I know you have 1,000-piece order, but I'm not going to do it. then you have to go crawling to them and say, "Acha bhaiya, आपका problem क्या है? बताओ क्या है? नहीं, मेरा wife के साथ झगड़ा हो गया, उसने बोला ये काम बंद कर दो." So it's a very human level kind of thing. So it's not like that you're sitting in a 300 people corporate office and the orders are coming from top and you're saying, do it or leave it. So it doesn't quite work that way. And coming back to the gender bit, I think women are that much more a little more understanding, yeah, a little less high-handed. I don't know. I may be wrong, but yeah.
Great. Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. That of course it's all about trust, and I think it's working out really well in your case. Okay, so let's take the next question, which is from Pradeep Joseph, which is, how is this tradition being passed on to the newer generations?
Okay, so I have a mixed answer for that. Many of the younger generation don't want to do this. Okay. Um, and this, I'm talking of the copper craft cluster. But, um, and this is the cluster I'm referring to is our first cluster, which is Pune. But you go to the rural areas. You go to, let's say, we also work in the Konkan area with copper artisans. There are people who are in need of work, right? So I'm always asked this question, what next? And I always give the answer that what about the next generation? One is, I think, now 40 years old. When people say that, what about the next generation? I think they're looking at a point of view that is from their own point of view. Why should I work with this craft cluster if tomorrow I don't have enough artisans to work with? I don't quite see that as a viable proposition. So I'm saying that, we are not a corporate house that says, okay, you come in the morning at 9 and leave. I mean, there are people who are willing to work and are staying with the work. It's not about our project. It's not about what I will do if there are no copper artisans or if there are no artisans left. I will do something else. I will not do something else. But if you look at it from the point of view of the group of artisans that we have in India today, I think we're serving them today and now. Work with crafts because it sort of reminds me of
Can you hear me?
Sorry, I got disconnected. Did you, was I audible when I answered that question?
Uh, I think partially we lost you a little bit.
Okay.
We got most of it. So I will,
Okay.
yeah. Uh, there is another question. So maybe we can move on to that. And what I would say is that Pradeep, if you want to, sorry, if the answer wasn't audible earlier, it would be nice if you could connect with Rashmi later on through Studio Copper. There's another question, which is, are you working with any design schools on introducing copper craft to students? Hello, Rashmi, I can't hear you.
So yeah, we're most happy to work with. But if you look at our website, you'll see all the collaborations. I think my internet is a little unstable. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great. Um, with that, there are no further questions, so I will close unless anybody else wants to ask any questions. But yeah, feel free to reach out to Rashmi anyway with your questions, with your comments. There have been some comments in the chat as well, which is basically just congratulating you, Rashmi, on impacting the lives of so many different artisans, and also like working with so many different problems and taking a very human-centered approach to that. Um okay, so with that, I'm going to start thanking everybody. So thank you, first of all, Rashmi, for coming on. It was a pleasure listening to all of those interesting insights and observations that you've had along your journey of Studio Copper. And I want to thank a few people who made this happen. Um, so uh, the CEO of IIT Bombay Alumni Association, he couldn't be here today. So Mr. Devesh Khatu, and then Namita Lobo, who's the COO. Then Divyam Goel, who helped us with the Zoom link. So that's the technical partner that he's the CEO of Attain, which is the technical partner. We have a core member team of the Alumni Association Bangalore chapter. So that's Vidyut and Smita and Pramod and so many others. Who Rashmi?
Thanks a lot for having me. Always a pleasure.
Great. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Bye. See you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.